By late 2025, the successive unveiling of U.S. nuclear assets including the AGM-181A nuclear cruise missile served as a direct response to Russia's test launch of the Seagull missile. As the nuclear standoff between the U.S. and Russia intensified, both nations accelerated their equipment modernization efforts, reshaping the global nuclear security landscape. The evolution of this silent contest holds profound implications for international peace and stability. November 2025, Edwards Air Force Base, California. Two gray silhouettes suddenly streaked across the clear sky. B-22 strategic bombers, like two steel vultures, swept low over the open desert terrain. Unbeknownst to observers, these seemingly routine training aircraft were captured by ground-based photographers, revealing details that would shock the world. Two missiles with orange test stripes lay dormant on the right-wing pylons, their sharp lines resembling weapons poised for action. These missiles, never before seen in public, were swiftly identified by military experts as prototypes of the highly classified AGM-181A air-launched nuclear cruise missile. Prior to this, all technical documentation and budget files related to this missile had been designated top secret by the Pentagon. Even during internal closed-door meetings, discussions required hushed tones, a testament to its extraordinary secrecy. Why would such a top-secret weapon be exposed in such a conspicuous manner? Could this conceal undisclosed strategic considerations? As more details emerge, a nuclear deterrence game spanning the United States and Russia gradually comes to light. The timeline clearly points to the inevitability of this accidental exposure. On November 4th, the first clear photos of the missile surfaced on the aviation enthusiast website Aviation Enthusiast. Like a boulder dropped into calm waters, instantly sparking heated debate in global military circles. Just 6 days later, the site released a second set of related photos, pushing the media frenzy to its peak. Both sets of images captured B-22 strategic bombers taking off from Edwards Air Force Base. With strikingly similar flight profiles, the aircraft maintained low-altitude flight at approximately 1,500 meters over open terrain. This altitude falls within the reasonable range for routine training while allowing ground observers to clearly discern details of the wing-mounted payloads. The images clearly show the missile's vertical stabilizer in a distinct downward-pointing position, a feature highly consistent with the limited concept drawings leaked in June 2025. The orange stripes on the missile's surface are standard markings used during weapon testing phases, primarily to aid ground monitoring personnel in identifying and tracking the missile's orientation. Russia's Kommersant promptly followed up on this news, citing multiple U.S. military analysts who pointed out that the repeated appearance of such a highly sensitive target in completely open terrain under ideal filming conditions was not a leak caused by U.S. military oversight, but rather a deliberate show of force by the Pentagon. Its direct objective was to respond to Russia's recent testing of the Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile. Defense News echoed this assessment, explicitly stating, the AGM-181A test occurred just days after Russian President Putin announced the successful test of the Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile. On October 26, a timing that may not be coincidental, the publication emphasized that in an era of escalating nuclear confrontation, merely revealing such weapons to the world could send a signal as potent as an official unveiling. Long after the two sets of photos circulated widely, the U.S. Air Force remained silent on the matter. This silence only reinforced external speculation that the display was deliberate, signaling the quiet commencement of a silent nuclear deterrence contest unfolding above the skies. The story's origins trace back to Russia a month prior. On October 26, 2025, the Kremlin officially announced the successful test launch of the Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile, simultaneously disclosing key test data. The missile achieved a flight range of 14,000 kilometers, remained airborne for 15 hours, successfully evaded multiple simulated anti-missile intercept nodes, and precisely validated the weapon system's reliability and penetration capabilities. Russian President Vladimir Putin's statement at a related meeting was emphatic. There is currently no equivalent product globally. The Swallow will become a crucial cornerstone safeguarding Russia's national security. This news, upon reaching Washington, immediately placed unprecedented pressure on the Pentagon. For years, the U.S. air-launched cruise missile program has languished in a state of obsolescence. As the Air Force's sole operational nuclear cruise missile, the AGM-181A series has served since the 1980s, a 42-year tenure that has not only depleted stockpiles but also exposed numerous performance flaws due to prolonged surveys. Internal U.S. military data reveals that during recent operational deployments, the AGM-181 series has repeatedly experienced failures such as mid-air loss of control and guidance signal loss. Its weak anti-jamming capabilities also render it ill-equipped to handle the complex electromagnetic environments of modern battlefields. Meanwhile, the more advanced AGM-179 stealth cruise missile was officially retired in 2012 due to prohibitively high maintenance costs and difficulties in technological upgrades. This reality of one system being retired and another aging has left America's air-based nuclear deterrence system resembling rusted armor, appearing precarious under the pressure of Russia's new nuclear capabilities. An entirely new weapon is urgently needed to fill the gap and restore the advantage. Oleg Krivoropov, director of the Military Political Research Department at the Russian Academy of Sciences Institute of the USA and Canada, noted in media interviews that Washington's accelerated testing and demonstration of new nuclear cruise missiles is fundamentally a reactive response to Russia's nuclear modernization. The unique advantages of Russia's Sea-Sparrow missile have disrupted the existing balance in airborne nuclear deterrence between the U.S. and Russia. The unveiling of the AGM-181A missile represents the new edge the U.S. has honed to fill the void in airborne nuclear deterrence. Officially designated by the U.S. military as the long-range standoff missile, this weapon has been under development by Raytheon since 2017 and stands as a core priority project for U.S. Air Force Command in recent years. Its primary mission is to comprehensively replace the aging AGM-181B missile. According to limited publicly available U.S. Air Force data and authoritative media reports, the AGM-181A's development has progressed smoothly. In 2022, it successfully completed 9 flight tests, validating performance under diverse weather conditions and flight configurations. By 2023, it passed final technical evaluations and formally entered prototype testing. Technologically, this missile appears tailor-made as a stealth asset for the U.S. military. Its fuselage employs a multifaceted stealth design with a smooth surface devoid of prominent protrusions, effectively scattering radar waves like a camouflage cloak and drastically reducing detection probability. Multiple media outlets have dubbed it the ghost of the skies. Its propulsion system utilizes a new turbofan engine that delivers greater thrust while operating at lower noise levels. Combined with infrared suppression technology, this significantly reduces infrared signature. Advanced flight control software and guidance systems grant it autonomous threat handling capabilities, enabling real-time battlefield situation analysis to autonomously plan optimal flight paths and evade enemy air defense intercepts. Authoritative data indicates the AGM-181A missile boasts a maximum range of 2,400 kilometers. Though not hypersonic, its subsonic flight profile combined with superior stealth capabilities grants penetration capabilities far surpassing conventional cruise missiles. The missile body will carry the new W804 thermonuclear warhead, featuring a modular design with yield adjustable between 5,000 and 150,000 tons. This enables precision strikes against critical targets like enemy command centers and nuclear facilities, as well as large-area destruction of clustered targets. Notably, this missile is exclusively equipped with nuclear warheads and lacks conventional strike capabilities, clearly positioning it for strategic deterrence. In terms of cost, the AGM-181A missile program's total R&D expenditure reached $16 billion. Once mass production begins, the unit cost is projected at $14 million. According to U.S. military plans, the missile is expected to enter mass production in 2027, though achieving initial operational capability will require several more years. with a planned service life of at least 30 years. It will become a core component of U.S. air-based nuclear forces until the mid-21st century. To maximize the effectiveness of this lethal weapon, it must be paired with the most advanced mounts. The U.S. has already designated two core delivery platforms for the AGM-181A, the B-22H strategic bomber and the next-generation B-21 Raider stealth bomber. Among these, the yet-to-be-formally commissioned B-21 bomber, with its superior stealth capabilities, is regarded as the AGM-181A's ideal partner. Their combination will form the core of the U.S. military's dual-stealth strategic strike system. The development of the B-21 Raider bomber can also be traced back to 2014, when the Pentagon formally launched the new long-range bomber program. Northrop Grumman was ultimately selected as the contractor. This company had previously successfully developed the previous generation B-2 Spirit stealth bomber and possesses deep technical expertise in flying wing stealth platform design. In September 2019, Northrop Grumman commenced assembly of the first B-21 prototype. On December 2, 2022, the prototype was unveiled to the public at the U.S. Air Force's 42nd Factory in Palmdale, California, drawing widespread attention from the global military community. In September 2025, the second B-21 prototype successfully completed its maiden flight, focusing on integrated testing of weapon and control systems, marking the project's entry into a critical validation phase. As of November 2025, approximately 10 additional bombers of this model were in various stages of assembly. According to the U.S. military's original plan, the B-21 bomber was scheduled to enter formal service in 2025. Based on disclosed specifications, the B-21 bomber employs a classic flying wing aerodynamic configuration, resembling the B-2 bomber in appearance but featuring a more compact fuselage. With a wingspan of approximately 45 meters, it offers greater deployment flexibility compared to the B-2's 52-meter wingspan. This subsonic aircraft achieves a maximum speed of Mach 0.8 and carries up to 9 tons of weapons. Beyond the AGM-181A nuclear cruise missile, it integrates multiple armaments including the extended range JSM air-to-ground missile 1,000 km range and the latest B-61 nuclear bomb. Developers state the B-21 employs an open systems architecture facilitating future technological upgrades. Equipped with advanced artificial intelligence systems, it integrates into the Joint All-Domain Command and Control Systems information network for coordinated operations with other platforms. Plans include developing an unmanned variant to expand operational scenarios. Northrop Grumman claims the B-21's radar detectability is significantly reduced compared to the B-2 bomber. However, this assertion remains unverified in combat conditions. Historically, stealth bombers have never engaged in direct military confrontation with advanced air defense systems, leaving its true stealth performance to be observed. Regarding cost control, the B-21 was initially positioned as a lower-cost alternative to the B-2. The U.S. military planned to procure 80 to 100 units at an estimated unit price of $550 million, with proposals later suggesting a potential fleet expansion to 175 to 200 aircraft. However, during actual development, factors like inflation and technological upgrades drove the unit cost steadily upward. By 2019, it had risen to $670 million, reaching $750 million in 2021, and nearing $1 billion by November 2025 U.S. Military experts predict that the Pentagon's goal of acquiring 100 B-21 bombers is unlikely to be achieved, with the final number likely capped at 22-30 units. This limited quantity will severely constrain the bomber's operational effectiveness. Even as the buzz around the AGM-181A missile persists, the U.S. has unveiled another nuclear deterrence ace, bringing the upgrade of tactical nuclear strike capabilities into public view. On November 14, 2025, Defense News published a major report revealing that Sandia National Laboratories, in collaboration with the National Nuclear Security Administration, successfully tested the F-35A stealth fighter's delivery of the B-21-12 nuclear bomb at the Tonopah Test Range in Nevada from August 19 to 21, 2025. Hill Air Force Base in Utah provided comprehensive technical and logistical support for the test. In a subsequent statement, Sandia National Laboratories explicitly stated that this marked the first inventory-level flight test for the F-35 series. During the test, the coordination between the fighter jet, the bomb, and the crew met all expected objectives. This signifies that the equipment reliability and personnel expertise required for the F-35A to undertake nuclear deterrence missions in the future have been preliminarily validated. In fact, the announcement of this test outcome was not unexpected. As early as October 2023, the F-35A had already received certification to carry the B-21-12 nuclear bomb 3 months ahead of the January 2024 timeline promised by the U.S. to NATO allies. However, the U.S. military did not disclose detailed test specifics at that time. In media interviews, U.S. Air Force officials stated that the F-35A's nuclear certification marks it as the world's first fifth-generation fighter with nuclear strike capability, and the first stealth fighter with such capability. This breakthrough will enhance the U.S. Air Force's tactical nuclear strike capabilities and diversify the military's nuclear deterrence options. Notably, the U.S. military emphasized that not all F-35As have received nuclear certification. Even after certification, not every aircraft will participate in nuclear strike missions. Only specially designated squadrons will be authorized to carry out such operations. This statement has been interpreted by observers as an attempt by the U.S. military to alleviate related concerns while maintaining an air of mystery around its nuclear strike capabilities. The strategic implications of this globally popular stealth fighter becoming a nuclear-capable platform have swiftly sparked widespread international discussion. As the nuclear strike counterpart for the F-35A, the B-21-12 nuclear bomb itself is no ordinary weapon. It represents a modernized iteration of a veteran in the U.S. nuclear arsenal. The B-61 series of nuclear bombs has been in service since the 1960s, making it one of the longest-serving nuclear weapons models in the U.S. arsenal. Long deployed on U.S. soil and in NATO-related countries, the U.S. military will still maintain 230 B-61 series nuclear bombs by 2025. The B-61-12 represents a comprehensive upgrade of the older variants, incorporating multiple new technologies during its development. Its core technological breakthroughs include the addition of a spin-up rocket motor, enhanced safety and arming mechanisms, and the installation of a new precision-guided tail assembly and guidance system manufactured by Boeing. These technological upgrades have enabled a qualitative leap in the B-61-12's performance, most notably its precision strike capability with a circular error probability CEP, reportedly no greater than 30 meters. This represents a significant improvement over the 100-meter level inaccuracy of traditional nuclear bombs, effectively equipping the nuclear warhead with precision navigation to more efficiently strike hardened enemy targets. Additionally, the bomb offers for selectable yield options, allowing flexible adjustment based on operational requirements. Combined with its bunker-busting capability, it can strike conventional ground targets while also penetrating shelters to destroy critical underground command centers, nuclear facilities, and other vital targets. Christensen, director of the Nuclear Information Project at the Federation of American Scientists, noted in his analysis that the B-61-12's precision and low yield theoretically lower the threshold for nuclear weapon use. Its relatively limited collateral damage could make decision-makers more inclined to consider nuclear options during conflicts, thereby increasing associated risks. More critically, one of the B-61-12's design objectives is to create a universal nuclear bomb compatible with multiple platforms including fighters and bombers, ensuring broad operational versatility. Currently, aircraft models that have completed or are undergoing integration testing with this nuclear bomb include the F-35A, F-15E, and F-16 fighters. The B-2 stealth bomber, and the future B-21 stealth bomber. Among these, the F-15E has achieved compatibility first, becoming the first fighter capable of carrying the B-61-212 nuclear bomb. For the F-35A fighter, each internal weapons bay can carry one B-61-12 nuclear bomb. Upon completion of its fourth batch of upgrades, it will formally become a multi-role fighter capable of both conventional and nuclear operations. From a deployment perspective, the current nuclear mission for F-35As carrying B-61-12 nuclear bombs primarily targets Europe. Dual-capability fighters from the U.S. and other NATO member states are deployed in Europe. Under relevant agreements among NATO members, these aircraft can carry B-61 series nuclear bombs deployed by the U.S. across multiple European nations to execute missions. The U.S. has explicitly stated that the F-35As nuclear certification will further strengthen the extended nuclear deterrence commitment to NATO's European allies, providing them with a nuclear umbrella. In the vast Pacific region, the U.S. military prefers to deploy B-2 or future B-21 strategic bombers for nuclear missions due to their longer range and greater payload capacity, which enable more diversified nuclear strike capabilities. However, the possibility of deploying nuclear-certified F-35As in the Pacific region for nuclear deterrence cannot be ruled out. From the exposure of the AGM-181A nuclear cruise missile, to the release of test details for the F-35A and B-61-12 nuclear bomb, to the earlier test launch of the Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile, the United States has intensively demonstrated its nuclear capabilities within a single month. This concentrated series of actions is no coincidence but a concentrated manifestation of its nuclear strategic posture. On November 5, 2025, the U.S. military test-fired a non-nuclear tipped Minuteman III ICBM from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. This test employed remote control mode, with operators initiating the launch sequence via the airborne launch control system aboard an E-6B Mercury aircraft. The missile re-entry vehicle traveled approximately 6,759 kilometers before accurately striking the U.S. military test range at Kwajalein Atoll in the Marshall Islands. The U.S. Air Force Global Strike Command stated after the test that it aimed to evaluate the reliability and operational readiness of the Minuteman III missile system and validate the deterrent capability of U.S. nuclear forces, emphasizing it was not directed at any specific country or event. However, given the prevailing international context, this explanation fails to fully dispel external concerns, particularly amid escalating nuclear force competition between the U.S. and Russia. This test launch appears more like a targeted demonstration of capability. The Minuteman III missile serves as the cornerstone of America's land-based nuclear arsenal. First deployed in 1970, it remains the sole land-based intercontinental ballistic missile ICBM in the U.S. arsenal. Approximately 400 operational missiles are currently stationed across 3 silo complexes in Wyoming, Montana, and North Dakota. Despite ongoing modernization efforts, the Minuteman III has served for over 50 years, with aging concerns becoming increasingly prominent. The U.S. military plans to replace it with the next generation ground-based strategic deterrent GBSD missile by 2030. Military analysts note that within a single month, the U.S. has conducted successive tests of land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles, air-launched nuclear cruise missiles, and tactical stealth fighter nuclear strike capabilities. This forms a comprehensive nuclear force demonstration matrix covering land-based and air-based platforms, encompassing both strategic and tactical dimensions. Behind these actions lies a forceful response to Russia's recent nuclear force developments and a comprehensive validation of its own nuclear deterrence system. Military experts widely agree that the US's recent nuclear maneuvers are inevitable outcomes within the framework of U.S.-Russia great power competition, with the core objective being to maintain its strategic advantage in the global nuclear domain. As one expert incisively explained in a media interview, this is a strategic tactic in the U.S.-Russia great power competition. With regional conflicts currently deadlocked and significant gaps in negotiating positions between the two sides. Repeated U.S. mediation efforts have yielded no results. Meanwhile, Russia has leveraged the current international landscape to advance its nuclear modernization program, conducting test launches of the Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile and the Poseidon nuclear torpedo. By seizing the initiative in nuclear development, Russia has prompted the U.S. to respond accordingly. In fact, Russia's nuclear modernization drive commenced long ago, according to its updated National Armament Development Program. Beyond the Bure nuclear-powered cruise missile and Poseidon nuclear torpedo, new nuclear-powered deep-sea unmanned vehicles like the VTAs will also enter service. These systems will eventually integrate intelligent decision-making technologies, gradually transitioning from program-guided operations to autonomous judgment and combat capabilities. Russia's nuclear arsenal has now surpassed the 95% modernization target, exerting significant strategic pressure on the United States. Against this backdrop, America's concentrated display of new nuclear systems serves dual purposes. First, to demonstrate to Russia that its nuclear deterrence remains unshakable, countering the strategic advantages gained by Moscow's new capabilities. Second, to leverage the F-35 fighter series as a model for binding allies and consolidating its strategic coalition. Currently, multiple nations worldwide have deployed F-35 series fighters, including the United Kingdom, Italy, and the Netherlands. Should the U.S. F-35A successfully develop nuclear strike capabilities, other countries operating this model would likely covet such integration, thereby deepening their military ties with the United States. This represents a key U.S. strategy to strengthen its alliance system and counter Russian influence. However, some experts question the effectiveness of this nuclear deterrence demonstration. Oleg Krivoripov, head of the Military Political Research Department at a Russian research institute, noted that existing data indicates the AGM-181A missile has a range comparable to the AGM-181B. Meanwhile, Russian air defense systems continue to evolve, accumulating combat experience including multiple interceptions of Western, precision-guided missiles employing stealth technology in regional theaters. From the perspective of Russian security, the U.S. pursuit of concepts for winning limited conflicts and the potential use of LRSO in such operations may create greater complications. But it is unlikely to significantly alter the strategic balance between the two nations. This aerial contest is far from over. Instead, it intensifies as both sides escalate their efforts. According to U.S. nuclear force development plans, the AGM-181A missile is slated for mass production in 2027 with a service life of at least 30 years. It will gradually replace the AGM-181B to become the backbone of U.S. air-launched nuclear cruise missiles. Despite challenges including rising unit costs and potential reductions in procurement numbers, the B-21 bomber program will proceed as planned. Together with the AGM-181A, this dual stealth strike combination will form the core of America's future strategic strike capabilities. The nuclear capability upgrade for the F-35A is also progressing steadily. As more aircraft complete nuclear certification, the range of U.S. tactical nuclear strikes will expand further. On the Russian side, the Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile has completed key tests and will proceed to mass production and deployment. This nuclear-powered cruise missile, with its potential for unlimited range, will become a crucial countermeasure to U.S. nuclear deterrence. The development of the Poseidon nuclear torpedo has achieved phased results. This weapon, deployable from nuclear submarines, possesses the capability to submerge to enemy coastal regions and execute nuclear strikes, inflicting severe damage on targets such as enemy ports and cities. Concurrently, Russia continues upgrading its existing air defense and missile defense systems, enhancing detection and interception capabilities against U.S. stealth fighters and cruise missiles to build a multi-layered defense network. Notably, the U.S. strategic bomber fleet currently faces challenges of insufficient numbers and severe aging, which may compromise the overall effectiveness of its nuclear strike capabilities. A 2021 aviation equipment inspection revealed that only 6 out of the 62 active-duty B-1 bombers in the U.S. military are combat-ready, having executed thousands of missions in relevant regions and subjected to harsh local weather conditions. These aircraft suffer severe structural wear and tear, effectively rendered unfit for service. The U.S. Congress subsequently ordered the retirement of 17 B-1 bombers with the most critical issues. By 2030, the B-52 bombers, which entered service in 1955, will also begin large-scale retirement. With only 72 of the 744 total units remaining in active service, their operational lifespan is nearing its end. Even the most advanced B-2 bombers number only 20 in active service, insufficient to meet the demands of large-scale conflicts. Under these circumstances, the deployment schedule and final procurement numbers for the B-21 bomber will directly determine the scale and combat capability of America's future air-based nuclear forces. The persistent rise in its unit cost undoubtedly casts a shadow over the development of U.S. nuclear capabilities. From the perspective of the global nuclear security landscape, both the U.S. and Russia have escalated their actions in nuclear means deployment and force positioning. Like two giants clenching their fists, they continue to add weight to opposite ends of the global security balance, not only intensifying bilateral tensions but also severely undermining the global nuclear arms control framework. Currently, the New START Treaty stands as the sole effective nuclear arms control agreement between the U.S. and Russia. While the treaty imposes limits on the number of strategic nuclear warheads and delivery vehicles for both sides, the constraints are gradually weakening as the modernization of their nuclear forces progresses. Competition in areas such as the development of new nuclear systems and the deployment of tactical nuclear weapons has already exceeded the scope of the existing nuclear arms control framework. The international community widely fears that this competition between the U.S. and Russia could trigger a chain reaction, drawing more nations into the vortex of nuclear deterrence and undermining global strategic stability. How will this nuclear standoff evolve in the future? Can the U.S. and Russia restart nuclear arms control negotiations to ease tensions? These questions not only concern the United States and Russia but have become critical issues affecting global peace and security. For all nations, the urgent task is to facilitate the return of the U.S. and Russia to the path of dialogue and negotiations, maintain the effectiveness of the existing nuclear arms control framework, and curb the escalation of this competition. For ordinary citizens, this invisible nuclear deterrence game is not distant military news but intimately connected to everyone's safety. Any miscalculation or loss of control over nuclear forces could bring catastrophic consequences to humanity. As the shadow of nuclear weapons continues to loom, upholding the principle of nuclear non-proliferation and advancing the global nuclear disarmament process have become the shared responsibility of the international community.